Hi, this is Evan Jones. We're doing Preptest 29, Game 4, video LSAT explanations for lawschoolie.com. This game is capping off a pretty difficult section. The first game was super easy, but then everything else has been pretty tough. And this game's no exception, not the easiest game in the world. It's a grouping. It's a linear game, and it's a basic linear game, but it gets complicated because you can have more than one thing in each spot. So it's not like the last one that we just did, game 3, where we had just one variable per spot. Here, there's a little bit more going on. Okay, so we'll take a look at the rules right now. Okay, so for the rules and setup of the game, we've got 6 piano classes here, and we're going to be putting 4 girls that I put up here, add that they're girls, and 5 boys. So that's an extra wrinkle that you have to deal with already, that we've got to keep track of boys and girls. And then we're not just pulling one student into each class. The rules say that there's 2 classes with more than one student, and 4 with exactly 1 student. So that's kind of tough. Do you write that rule down now? I wait in this case and see if there's any rules specifically that illuminate which classes have more than one student, what those classes are like. So let's just go to the rules. We got I and L together. Yeah, sure enough. Now we already know something more that we didn't know before. And then we've got P is with exactly 2 others, and that constitutes 1 class. This, by the way, is a complete class, so you might want to put a block around it so that you know that nobody else can go there. It says I and L together constitute 1 class. Same with this P thing. We got P and then 2 others. So good to put a block around it. G is at some time after I, but sometime before P. So we could sandwich G right in there. Work on the order thing. And then Oscar's class is sometime after G. So maybe Oscar's in there, but we just know that they're after G. So put a nice little arrow going down there. And I was kind of lucky how that worked out with getting it all together like this. You might have to rewrite it to make it pretty. But that's all the rules we have so far. Not a lot of rules, a lot of flexibility, so that signals that it's going to be kind of a tricky game. And I'm just realizing now that I forgot a rule here. We've got Kate is the first female. So Kate, then other Fs. This is one of those rules that is very difficult to write. But then you know that there's a B that goes sometime before her, at least 1. So maybe I'd put some little ellipses to say maybe there's more boys there. Really tough rule. I mean, to diagram, like I say, prep companies pretend that there's a way to diagram every rule that you ever encounter that's just totally standard. But that's just not how it works. Occasionally there's rules that come along that are kind of new, and you can diagram it like you diagram other rules, but it's something that's kind of going to look new. And just as long as you make sure you hammer it into your memory. So pause for an extra second in situations like this and be like, Kate's first girl, but there's got to be at least a boy in front of her. Try and really pound that into your memory. You'll have a better chances of not forgetting it down the road. Okay, so with this, we're ready to move on to the questions. 20 asks us who could attend the first class. It's no girl, right? So I go through and cross out any girls right away, but that only takes care of A. And it also, incidentally, takes care of L, because he's stuck with I, which is a girl. I's a girl, which means we can't have L in the first spot either. So that crosses off A and B, Now what about O, P? They all have to have something in front of them, right? So they're gone. That leaves only S. S is a very free variable. There's no rules about S. Okay, so yeah, S can be in first. Question 21. Which of the following is a complete and accurate list of classes, any one of which could be the one that G attends? So that's pretty tricky. And I think the hardest part is G could be here, right? Because you could have O and P together. Okay, so I think she's good in 5. This just requires some quick mental footwork here. What about if we try and put G here? Well, that's no good because then I and L is here, and we violated the rule that K needs to be the first female, right? So that's no good. At this point, I might just not bother thinking about this academically and just keep trying to put G in someplace early, right? So we now have K, I, L. No, that doesn't work because some boy has to be before G, right? So now G is moved to at least the 4 spot. And then we have the IL and the K. This kind of brings up something interesting. We can move this whole thing over to here too because we know K has to be the first female and then the boy thing. So that was kind of an inaccuracy on my part that I didn't put that at the beginning. Okay, and yeah, now this looks fine. We've got some boy in here, and it'll just have to be one boy because we already know that this is what our 2 classes with more than one student look like. G's in 4. We already know it's probably okay to put her in 5. So A, the 4th and the 5th is our answer. Circle it and move on. By the way, it might be worth noting that this has to be a B here for this rule. So I'm kind of like refining my diagram as I go along. And that's something that happens quite a lot in real-time situations. So yeah, don't worry if your diagram isn't all the way perfect when you start the question. Sometimes you have to make changes on the fly. It's just part of the game. So for 22, we're asked which one of the following students could be in a class. One of the following pairs could be with Pedro. Here it's good to look at the variables that are really free. G, like you can just go through the answers here. A, G, and H. No, G has to be before P. No way it could be before. I get to B, Holly and Saul. Well, those are really free variables. There's no rules about Holly whatsoever and Saul. So I'm thinking 100% that's got to be our right answer. You could test it with, like writing out an order and seeing if it works. However, maybe easier to just eliminate the remaining answers. K and N, no, not possible. K's here. L and O, no, L's here, and that's not possible. N and S. N and S is really tricky. I'm like thinking, why not? The problem with doing N and S is that then you use up N, you use up O, you use up P, and you use up S, and L's here. There's no boy to go in front of K. So that's something that I hadn't spotted until now, but it's something that there's always going to be a girl in here. Okay, so maybe for the rest of that, you want to put that there's a girl remaining in there. And then cross out your S, and that does indeed leave us with the right answer verified. For 22, it's H and S, Holly and Saul. Okay, 23, if Oscar and Pedro are not together, O and P are separate, then what could be true? This is a really, really tricky question. We split O and P up. Let's try and throw this diagram together because I think it's pretty fixed all in all, we got K here, and we've got I and L. When you separate these two out, there's not a whole lot of room remaining because you're going to have G and O in their own classes. So then you have G here, and then this P and O class, these can switch positions. P, P, O, O. Sorry, O is by himself. And these two can switch positions in 5 and 6. So now, armed with this diagram, you know, when you're solving this, you'll be doing this in a mini diagram off to the side. I'm just doing it into my main diagram and erasing. But now, armed with this, you should be able to answer the question. What could be true? G attends the 5th class? No, she's stuck in 4. H attends the 3rd class. We don't know where she is yet, but we know she's not in 3. That's where I and L are. They're a complete class. I attends the 4th class. Nope, G's there. N in 5. Could N go in 5? Yeah, I kind of don't see why not. We know we need a girl in there. So let's use, say, Holly. And then our remaining variable is Saul. He can go out front. And we're done. Yeah, that's the correct answer. You can also proceed by eliminating the last one. Saul attends the 2nd class. No, there's no one can be with K. She's alone. So these are correct answer. Question 24, the last question in what was a pretty hard section and not the easiest game. We've got a rule that you may have seen one of these, but if you're early in your prep, maybe you haven't yet. It's suspending a condition and replacing it with something else. So that's tricky. It says, suppose we get rid of the rule that O attends a class after G. So just, since it's the last question, just exit out. And we replace it with the condition that O attends a class before G and after K. So now we've got O in here as well. This is a little scrappy looking, but just remember, it could be in front of this IL thing, or it could be after. If all other conditions remain the same, then which class must Holly attend? Let's see. I mean, we've got to have a boy in here, right? And we saw in that earlier question that when you break this O out and have it not be in this P block, now there's really not a whole lot of space for all the remaining stuff. It kind of ends up in the order much like it is down in our rule. So let's just try. We got to have K here, and then we got to have I and L or O, and then I and L or O, and then G's next, and then P's over here. Now we know Holly can't be first, right? Because she's a girl. We need a B over there. That leaves her for sure with Pedro in class 6. So just look for 6 in the answers, the 6th class, and that's where H is. We see that that's answer choice E, and you're done with the game. The key to this game was kind of that, if you were really going to solve it fast, was this awareness that O's either in here, right? Well, not in that G spot. O's either in here or they're outside. And if they're outside, then the order of the game is really, really restricted. Because you've got 1, 2, 3, then the O class, then the P class. That's it. You know, there's only then that boy that has to be by himself in 1, and everything's pretty fixed together. So if you struggled with this game, not too surprising. It's one where experience definitely pays off, especially because it's some kind of ugly-looking rules. So the better you are mentally at working with ugly rules, the better off you'll be. And I think that's something that comes with experience. So yeah, just keep at it. And this section, all in all, section 3 of Preptest 29, very tough section. So I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if most of you really struggled with this. Not something that really needs to cause you a whole lot of worry, because it's rare to have a game section this tough. And If you do have one, generally you'll have a soft curve, and by the time the test rolls around, you'll be ready for this, believe me. They're a good section to test sections like these are a good thing to test your confidence with. If you can do something like this within the 35 minutes, you're pretty much ready to take the exam, at least as far as games are concerned. So keep that in mind. Maybe you want to erase all of the questions here and try this later, like after you've forgotten it in a couple months if you're taking the September or October exam. All right, thanks a lot. We'll see you soon. Bye.